if the plan doesn't work for the children, they're gonna resent it and be disagreeable, and really, it won't be good for their mental health.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Not every light is gonna guide you.
So, Dr. Kathy, today in the Celebrate Kids podcast, in this daily segment, Facing the Dark, I want to dive right into the Olympics. Norway right now is leading the Olympic count by a wide margin, and it kind of offends me as an American, especially because I have a lot of friends that are Norwegian. Now, one of the Norwegian Olympic delegation members, his name is Tor Overbo, he said something interesting on why Norway is leading in the medal count. He said that, quote, "We know that we have to succeed in every event we participate in. It's not so easy to say what is the secret to this success. It has to do with the way that we organize our society. We redistribute the wealth. So it's possible for kids to participate in sports and for their parents to help them. People work 8 hours a day, and then they have quite a few hours to be with their kids doing normal sports," end quote. Now, Dr. Kathy, I don't want to make Olympic success the standard for a family's thriving or even like a nation's thriving, but I do wonder if he's onto something here. He talks about the idea of being really a medal leader in the world as a cultural phenomenon. And it's something that I've actually seen in this school that my wife and I work at here, Hillcrest Academy in Minnesota, where we have seen students that come from Norway. They have a different outlook or a posture or approach to daily life. They
Mhm.
love people, they love nature, and it's part of really their cultural ethic, I would say. What does it do for kids when we live in a space that structures leisure and also structures work? How does that guide them for the rest of their lives?
Oh, it's so interesting. Yeah, culture and work, isn't that a beautiful combination for our whole lives? So when children are introduced to both, they understand that for their whole life they will work, and for their whole life, there will be opportunity for leisure, joy, fun, although you can also have joy in work. Let's make sure we make that statement. I think you and I both love our work, although it's a different type of joy, obviously, from when we're in a leisure space. So I think there's balance that's really healthy. I think we're designed for both purposeful investment in other people as well as leisure. I think there's abundance here. I like to remind people of John 10:10, where we learn that Jesus came that we would live an abundant life. He doesn't just mean school, and he doesn't just mean work. He means that we would know who we are and we would delight in that, and that we would serve, and that we would work and have fun and tell people about Jesus and just experience the peace and the joy and the abundance of character. I mean, there's just so much there. And I think it's going to happen when we have both the leisure and the fun and the work. I think adulthood is rich. Wayne, I think you and I probably both know adults who work and they don't know what to do with the rest of their lives. I'm thinking right now of a friend who I've known since childhood who just every day is a bad day, and she's lacking leisure and she's lacking relationships. There are reasons for that. I think if she would have been raised to value leisure as much as education and work, she'd be pursuing it now and her life would be very different.
I appreciate that, Dr. Kathy. Appreciate you sharing a little bit of that. I wonder about that a little bit, even for our families, the structure of kind of the culture of a family. Some families are much more free. That can really relate to some different things that we teach in the ministry here called kind of a style or a mind style, a thinking style. Norway has a very specific kind of mind style, if I want to put that term on it, from what we teach here at the ministry. We teach this, concept in churches and schools and businesses and marriages, and it really transforms the way that they interact or communicate with each other because they understand kind of the ethic of how they take in information and how they give out information. And Norway has a very specific kind of style in their culture. They're very organized and planned and structured, and things have a certain order. It's so different from the work that I've done in cross-cultural ministry with like an island culture that is much more free flowing and relational. What does it do for our kids though when we approach life or leisure or kind of living as really organized or planned. I mean, Norway has some pretty rigid rules and structures inside of their culture. What does it do when fun is planned for kids and when work is planned for kids? And how does that shape kind of even how they live in society?
Interesting. The first thing I thought of when you were asking those questions was that if the plan doesn't work for the children, they're going to resent it and be disagreeable, and really it won't be good for their mental health. So if we don't consider the children that we're planning work and leisure for, it could be bad for us. Like if you planned leisure for me that was spontaneous and carefree and loud, I would not be a happy person. So do we consider again the type of leisure that somebody would benefit from? And do we consider the individual when we do the planning? So that's the first thing I would think of. The second thing on a more positive note is that, quote unquote, it forces me to be at leisure. I enjoy my work. You and I have talked about this. I enjoy working and I enjoy my work, and I do not resent it when I work in the evenings, and I often do. Again, it's my choice. I'm careful about not being, the workaholic in the traditional sense where that would be really bad for me and bad for the ministry. But the forced fun, the planned fun is good if we consider the individual. It does make us more well-rounded, doesn't it? And I think what's interesting, what I've discovered, and you've helped me understand this, is that when I have leisure, I work better. If I go to the zoo, I write better later that day because it changed my brain structure. It relaxed the part of my brain that's tired, et cetera, et cetera. I should go to the zoo tomorrow. Maybe I'll go to the zoo tomorrow. Our weather here where I live is perfect for going to the zoo. I'll have to think about that. Let me say something else about leisure. I think leisure teaches children how the world works. The world isn't ABC 1, 2, 3. Now, you can make your world that way if you're that kind of a structured person. But in reality, the world isn't quite that ordered and organized. And leisure often cannot be. You don't know for sure if you'll win the game until you play the game. You don't know for sure if you'll do well or even like, putt-putt miniature golfing until you try it, as just an example that came to mind. So I think when we're at leisure, when we're enjoying something, when we're trying something, when we're having quote unquote fun, we learn about teamwork. We learn about ourselves because we're out of the box and we're trying things. And what if I said that leisure might create emotional connections that are rich, that would carry us into the next day, that would be really good for us if we're having a bad day?
Dr. Kathy, I think that structure of leisure is really important for us. And I think that different people approach life differently. For our family, we're very free flowing and relational. I want to push this to you because we do have some kids in our family that are much more structured and they need more structure. They like
Mm,
more structure. More structure helps them feel more secure, but we're
mm.
not a structured family. So, do we need to step into that and be more structured, especially with our leisure? I kind of like accidentally enjoying things, but our kids like to have planned enjoyment.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
do I need to change or am I awakening my kids to this new reality of having unplanned leisure? What are your thoughts on some of that and how this kind of shapes our kids?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both is actually fine. I do really respect how you and Nancy know your children. And I think if you want them to be secure in you and with you, then you need to plan fun for some of them. When children know that we know them and we see them and we consider them in the decision making, they will feel safe. That's how they often feel love. So if you want a child who needs order to truly have fun, give them some order. And I'm a person who, again, I don't like spontaneity. People who know me well know that about me. See, I'm thinking already, should I go to the zoo tomorrow? After the dentist, or maybe I won't feel well enough to really enjoy it. Maybe I should go for 2 hours on Thursday. I'm already thinking, and some people would just wake up and go to the zoo. That's not the way my mind is designed. And don't tell me that I'm wrong to think about it. I'm going to have more fun thinking about it. Sometimes expecting the trip to the zoo is as much fun as actually being at the zoo, because I could start to think about the giraffes and how funny they usually are. So again, I think it's a both and kind of situation. And I would say to any parent who's who's listening who is more free flow, you can plan it. It's harder for you, but you can. You can consider your children. That's who you've been called to love. You ask God to help you do that, and I think you're able to do it. At the same time, you can wake up a son or daughter and say, I've got a surprise for you today. Now, don't say I've got great news, because it won't be great news to them. They don't like surprises, maybe. But you can say, we're going to do something today, and trust us, we're going to help you, enjoy it. So a little bit of both is probably good. And let me say one more thing, Wayne. If your children see you enjoy spontaneity and they see you enjoy loud leisure or quiet leisure or new experiences, they're going to be more open to trusting you in the same thing. Parents really do have more power than they recognize in what their kids are going to respond well to.
I loved what Dr. Kathy and I talked about today. It reminded me of a passage that comes from 1 Timothy chapter 4, and I'll begin reading at verse 8. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. This is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. This is why we labor and strive, because we have put our hope in the living God, who is our Savior, the Savior of all people, especially of those who believe. Paul is writing to Timothy at this time in this letter, and it's to Timothy, who's living in a Greco-Roman world. And it's a world that celebrates athletic competition. Public games were really cultural events. So inside of this call to athletic discipline is really something that they would relate to. And actually, this culture really admired athletic discipline. Paul affirms physical training has value, but he places it underneath spiritual formation. He highlights that there's necessary structures for building a destiny that we want to go into. Training implies that there's planning. Training implies that there's rhythm. Training implies that there's repetition. And what's happening inside of this Norwegian cultural structure that we're talking about here is that there's predictable work hours, but there's also predictable sport activities and leisure activities. There's predictable joy. There's organized outdoor life, and it all creates consistency, and that consistency builds on itself and compounds to building security for kids and other people that are living inside of this culture. Kids who are raised in structured leisure environments oftentimes learn that there's important places for follow-through and teamwork, that there's necessary reality for things like resilience and body awareness, and even things like delayed gratification. They see that there's a place and a purpose and a design for it. Leisure is not random fun. It's actually disciplined joy. But in all of this, there's a reality that all of this relates to each other. And it's important for us as parents to understand the different ways that our kids think and process and understand the world, but also are called to live into the world. And as Dr. Kathy has said on the podcast before, really great parenting is parenting that understands our kids and understands what they need to operate inside of these different moments that they find themselves in. And I think as parents, understanding this and creating structure for our kids who need structure, or building relationship for our kids who need relationship, that's the bright light that shines and cuts through the darkness that can oftentimes cloud kids' vision on what they should do today, and if they even feel like they belong or have an identity in their today. I hope this is an encouragement for you, and I hope all the things that we do here at Celebrate Kids are an encouragement for you. So thankful you joined us today on the Celebrate Kids podcast, this daily segment, Facing the Dark. On behalf of Dr. Kathy Cook, my name is Wayne Stender. Glad you joined us, and we're looking forward to seeing you here again tomorrow.